Hello and welcome back to the DriveTribe Podcast. I nearly just pulled my headphones out of my computer with my dancing. This week we've got some very exciting news. There's Audi's first electric car that's not an SUV. There's a £200,000 really old Land Rover, and there's a very old lady who is stuck on the front of a car. Yes, I'm talking about some other stuff as well. Let's get going. Yeah, hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for you listening in your droves as usual. Thank you for all the feedback. You can email us at podcast@drivetribe.com. All I've had this week is lots of emails saying, Tim, you look really tired. And that is because I do. I've not even bothered setting up lighting today. So if you're watching this on Tim Rody Drive Stuff, hello, thank you, subscribe, and comment on the fact that I need something under my eyes. It's just called getting old, I think. We're joined by some much fresher faced people as usual. We've got the lovely, ever effervescent Rachael Hogg.
Hey Tim, when you said old lady on the front of a car, I was like, please don't say he's going to say me when he says this, but you didn't, so thanks for that.
I've never seen you on the front of a car. Have you ever done that thing where you pose on the front of a car?
No, I haven't. I've not gone for I was going to say influencers, but would an influencer do that? Probably not. I don't know.
Probably. You could be we could have supercar brownie Lucy Brown.
Nice.
She's got brown hair, not blonde hair.
Nice.
That's 2 weeks in a row.
No.
I've used the word brown in a joke.
No. Supercar Blondie's car's called Lucy.
Really?
Fun fact, her Lambo, because I remember when she came to the office, she was like, "Oh, Lucy, you're like my car." And when the way she was speaking about it, I thought she meant her dog, but then eventually she said, "My car is called Lucy."
Right. There's a lot to unpack there, isn't there? I don't remember Supercar Blondie coming to our office. I must have been out that day, obviously.
Yeah, she came in for ages, and we played on the sim rig, and she was really good. I think she was better than her husband, which was quite funny to see because he didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, her husband's like her manager / the guy that films her. Is that right?
Yeah.
I seem to remember. Anyway, before I dig myself into an influencer hole, actually, let's start with that. That's
Are you going to bring up Twitter by any chance on another podcast which has been out this week?
Yes, I've not listened to it yet, but obviously Chris Harris does the Collecting Cars podcast. And this week he had Ian Litchfield on, who runs Litchfield, who are the big Nissan GTR tuners and everything, turbocharged tuners here in England. And they are doing up the Toyota GR Yaris, and they're offering a set of suspension and stuff for it. And Chris Harris tweeted that an influencer had got in touch with Litchfield and asked them to fit a full set of their suspension to his Yaris, which is about £4,000, and pay the influencer £25,000 for the pleasure. So it's like saying, can I have some free stuff? Which, the answer might have been, sure, to promote it. But then saying, and a £25,000 fee on top. It's like, what?
And he asked for commission on any sales of the suspension kits from him.
Yes, it's hilarious. So I don't know if we can say who this was, because I don't think we 100% know, because everyone's denying it. Everyone initially said it's Shmee, and then Shmee, Tim Burton, his manager, Mark Rutten, or Schmark, came out of Twitter hibernation to say, no, definitely not us. We don't do that. That's just dodgy and makes the whole industry of influencers look really bad. So yeah, definitely wasn't us. So everyone then said, well, it could only be one other person really in the UK influencer space, and that's Mr. JWW. But I think he's now come out and said it wasn't him either. So I reckon...
I think he said it was his entourage.
His people, right?
His people.
Yeah.
Potentially, yes.
Someone's been taken out around the back of the country club, and there's been a single shotgun blast heard, and all the hounds were startled.
It's dark.
So yeah, God, some of these people are very entitled.
I think JWW has actually invited. I can't remember if it's Chris Harris or Litchfield onto his podcast.
Classic to defuse it. I mean, yeah, there's some weird, dodgy stuff that goes on in the world of influencers. Anyway, there's a slight deviation from the script. Do tell us, podcast at DriveTribe.com, what you think of influencers and whether Rachael Hogg is the world's best influencer. I think she is. You've been influencing some Prosecco this week, haven't you?
I have. I did a live cook along with amazing, legendary Italian chef Aldo Zilli yesterday, and made a nice Valentine's meal for myself.
Oh, yeah, it's Valentine's Day soon, isn't it? I need to not
It
forget
is.
that. I want to talk about part of that, but we should do some car stuff first.
Yeah, do the car stuff. Tim,
Remind
do the
me,
car stuff. I will.
just make a little note of 2 words.
Okay.
Rosé Prosecco. I want to
Okay.
talk about. So
Car
anyway,
stuff.
right, that's been a very long intro. Let's do the car news. Yeah, well, there's been a few bits of news this week, fairly significant. We'll start with the most important, as you're taught to do when you do journalism training and you learn about the news pyramid or the news triangle, the inverted triangle of news, where you put the most important thing first and get the least important thing. So sorry to the story that's at the end of this segment. The Audi E-Tron Gt, I think I've got that right, has been unveiled this week on Tuesday. This is Audi's first all-electric, not SUV. So it's a kind of coupe saloon thing. All you really need to know is that underneath, it's a Porsche Taycan, however you want to pronounce Porsche. And there are 2 versions of this Audi. There is the RS one. So it's the first RS model that's fully electric that we've seen. And there's a standard one, which is called the E-Tron Gt Quattro. The names are getting confusing. Bear with me. The RS one has got 598 electric horsepower, or 646 in launch control mode, and that does 0 to 62 in 3.3 seconds. And then the regular one, the E-Tron Gt Quattro, gets 476 horsepower and 530 horsepower in boost mode, and does 0 to 62 in 4.1. So they're both really quite fast. You might be thinking, are these based on something else in the Volkswagen group? And you would be right. They are both based on the Porsche Taycan, and they're actually, the power levels and prices almost match up with the Porsche. So some more numbers for you.
You're doing well with your numbers here, Tim. I know it's not a strong point for you, but you're doing well.
I'm definitely numerically dyslexic, as HSBC well knows. Yeah, so it's going to be £80,000 for the entry level one. And that is the same power and £4,000 less than a Taycan 4S. So basic E-Tron GT, Taycan 4S, and the RS E-Tron GT is going to be £111,000 without options, and that is the slightly less power than the Taycan Turbo, and it's £5,000 less than the Taycan Turbo. The Taycan Turbo S is on a whole different level, and that's got 761 horsepower, and there's nothing in the Audi range that is equal to that. Phew. So RS e-tron GT, then it will do 280 miles on a charge, the fast one, or 295 if you buy the less fast one, and it will charge its battery from 5% to 80% in the same as the Taycan, 23 minutes. Now, let's talk a bit about the fascinating topic of charging electric cars, because I was at Porsche yesterday. Feel free to tell me to shut up in a minute. I was at Porsche yesterday, and they have a Taycan which they've just set an endurance record in around Brands Hatch. And during that, there's a journalist called Colin Goodwin who did it. And in that, they learned that charging electric car, I don't know if have you done some of this, Rachel? Some electric car chargingness?
Yes, I have.
And sometimes you go to a charger and it's meant to be a 50 kilowatt charger or whatever, and it just gives you 5 kilowatts, 10 kilowatts. It's just rubbish. And you blame the charger thing. Man from Porsche, lovely Rob in the press department, was saying the optimum temperature, he wasn't German.
I know, I was going to say, when did Rob sound like that?
For charging, so basically, if you get the battery to 28 degrees, that's its complete optimum for charging. If it's even 2 degrees below that, it will charge much more slowly. If it's above that, it doesn't make so much of a difference. So basically, yeah. And in the Taycan, and I guess the Audi e-tron, if you put a charger into the sat nav, so on your route, it will preheat the battery. So when you get to the charger, it will be at 28 degrees. I just think that's really clever.
That is very clever, and also makes so much sense to have that technology on a car, because charging is still, as everyone knows, is still the main barrier that
It
people are
is.
struggling with.
It is a right old faff, and I need to do some research actually, because I've been doing some writing about the Tesla Model 3 today, because we, spoiler, going to be launching a competition to win one probably, and supercharging. I can't work out nowadays if you get access to the superchargers for free. I don't think you do anymore. I think you have to pay. Lucy's nodding sagely there. I think you have to pay for it. Do you? Okay.
Because I remember James May got really pissed off when Hammond got a Tesla quite recently, and he's got free charging, whereas May doesn't because he's got an older model.
I'm sure it's not just because he's Richard Hammond.
I don't think so.
Richard Hammond sent an angry email to Elon Musk, and Elon Musk just bowed down. So I don't want to do this. So yeah, it's quite interesting that this Audi now exists. I really like the look of it. It looks super aggressive.
Very cool.
It's very cool. It's kind of a bit like an A7, but it looks like it is just the same size and shape as a Taycan. And I was in a Taycan yesterday, and I don't fit in the back seats of it. I didn't think I'd have this problem, but my head I'm bent double in the back of it, which is a shame.
Can you please do an impression of that for people watching this on the YouTube channel? Okay,
I
beautiful.
mean, well,
that's what I needed.
By the time this podcast goes live, my Taycan review will already be up on my YouTube channel, and I kept the footage of me getting into the back of it.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I hit my head getting into the back of it, and I kept all of that in. It's really undignified, but I think we need to show the people the realities of getting.
The first time you've ever been undignified on one of your YouTube videos, Tim? What?
Wait until my BMW 4 Series review goes out in a couple of weeks, because you see my pants in that one. It's really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Isn't this Audi E-Tron GT the car that was in the Avengers that Iron Man drove? And I think last minute in the edit they added in like a petrol power sound. So like there's a scene where he pulls up in it, and I think they when they were editing the film, they're like, oh no, it doesn't sound cool enough. Yeah. So they added in a
oh no, they didn't. I don't know, because I've only seen The Lion King and Airplane. But I haven't seen many films. But yeah, that sounds about right. That must have really annoyed Audi, like having done the rights to promote their electric cars. That BMW did that on social media, didn't they? They released a film of the M2 competition, or M2 CS or something, and they dubbed over a V10 from an Audi.
Yep.
Outstanding work. It seems that if you run a social agency, extracting money from the car industry is just the easiest thing in the world. That's my get out plan after this. Right. Next bit of news is from Land Rover. Land Rover this week announced that you can now buy one of, I think they're making 60 or 25, I can't remember, probably 60 old school Defenders. So the old shaped Defender in either the short 90 or the longer 110 wheelbase, and it's called the Works V8 Trophy, and it harks back to the Camel Trophy, which was a competition that ran between 1980 and I think 2000. So it's a super off-road spec Defender with a full exterior roll cage, roof rack that you can put spare jerry cans and stuff on. It's got Recaro sport seats. It's got 405 horsepower, naturally aspirated 5-litre V8, and it looks amazing. But it's £195,000.
Does it come with a pack of Camel cigarettes and the thing, and someone just going smoke? I don't know if anyone remembers that Simpsons episode, but it was definitely one of the best ones.
I do remember that, and no, they were very they were very careful to make sure that everyone didn't just reference cigarette brands when they're writing stories about this. But I kind of got there in about 2 lines. So yes, when you buy one for £195,000, and that's for the 90, I presume the 110 is going to be another 10 grand or something. You get entered into a 3-day competition at Eastnor Castle, which is their big off-roady centre.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, and there are prizes. I don't know what the prizes are.
You get your money back for spending 195 grand.
That would be a pretty good prize. And actually, I've got a fun fact. The Camel Trophy, I was reading up on this, because all I know about the Camel Trophy is yellow Defenders with stuff on the roof.
Yep.
And
well described.
Thank you. But what it was basically each year, it started in 1980 where they drove Ford U50s, which were some kind of rebadged Jeep, I think. And each year they visit a different part of the world, and teams all use Land Rovers, and they just had to do all these trials and stuff to earn points and win prizes. They went to Sumatra one year, Madagascar another year, like the Grand Tour, Guyana, Argentina, Mongolia, Tierra del Fuego. And one year a guy won, and the prize was a brand new Range Rover, which is obviously very expensive. And he said, I don't want it. Can I have 2 Defenders instead? And they said, yeah, all right. So he swapped his Range Rover for 2 Defenders because that's what he wanted. And yeah, they killed it off in year 2000, I think. And it became the G4 Challenge, which lasted a couple of years. But there we go. This new one is quite cool. There's a video, check it out. It'll be on DriveTribe or Land Rover's YouTube, of my mate Jessica Hawkins, who's a stunt driver from the latest James Bond film. And she's razzing this new Defender around. And yeah, she was the same lady who co-piloted for me when I drove the James Bond Defender, modern Defender, last year, one of the stunt cars I got to drive. I think I talked about it on the podcast before. If not, go and check it out on my YouTube channel. It's my biggest ever video, and it's just me in a really noisy stunt car with a fuel pump behind my head, with Jessica Hawkins, racing driver, just shouting at me to go faster across this muddy field. And it was lots of fun. But hey, there we go. Right, I'm rattling through this. This is good. God, I've not even been going that long. I need to slow down. The next item of news is about one of the most iconic ladies in all of motoring. It's Rachael Hogg.
Thanks, Tim.
You're
Thank you.
110. You look really good for 110.
My secret is lots of gin.
Lots of gin, and like when you put your deodorant on in the morning, it's just like cobwebs.
Ew.
Oh, Tim.
What? It's fine. It's just old.
Always have to make it weird.
Always has to make it weird.
It's not fun if it's not weird. No, obviously, I'm not talking about Rachael Hogg's armpits. I'm talking about the Spirit of Ecstasy off of Rolls-Royce.
The weirdest link of all time. I don't. Yeah, it's not going to get weirder than that.
Isn't that what this podcast is all about? So yeah, Spirit of Ecstasy is the little statue thing that is on the front of all Rolls-Royces and has been since 1911. This February the 6th, 1911 to be precise. And there's actually quite an interesting story behind that Spirit of Ecstasy that rises up out of the bonnets of modern rollers. Basically, a very rich man called Baron Montague wanted a radiator ornament for his Rolls-Royce, because back in 1909, 1910, it just said Rolls-Royce. There was nothing sticking on top of the radiator. And basically, Rolls-Royce were worried that their customers are going to stick some really awful, untasteful things on it. Because Rolls-Royce, they've always been very precious of their brand image. So they commissioned this guy called Charles Sykes to make one, and he asked a lady friend called Eleanor Thornton to pose for him. And she became the Spirit of Ecstasy.
Does she have wings?
No, but it's not wings. It was her arms enrobed in cloth.
Ah.
But
wasn't she the woman? Oh, am I about to steal your thunder? Wasn't she the woman having an affair with the posh dude, Montague guy?
I don't know if it's with Montague, or I think it might have been the editor of Car magazine at the time, something like that. But there was some kind of tryst, and there were several people involved, and she was having an affair with one of them. And
I'm pretty sure it's Montague.
Are you sure? Does Wikipedia tell you that?
I don't know. It was on an episode of QI.
Good fact. Well, we'll come back to Montague because there's a dark end to this story. But in the first sculpting of this, which wasn't actually for Rolls-Royce, it was before Rolls-Royce asked him to do this, she had her finger to her lips because of the affair. So Spirit of Ecstasy was originally like, shh. And then when Rolls-Royce asked, what's-his-face, Charles Sykes, to go and do it, he said, oh, I'm just going to basically reuse this, but take her finger away and make her do the flying thing. So there we go. And anyway...
do you reckon he said it exactly like that? Let's take her finger away and make her do the flying thing.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, bruv, just stick your arms back like this. It'll be peng.
Poetic.
And then Rolls-Royce was like, boo, yeah, do that.
Are her arms back? Were they trying to imitate the front of a ship, like the bow of a ship ornament?
It's very Titanic, isn't it? It's
I mean,
like
no, I don't mean Titanic. I mean like really old ships that used to have like a woman figurehead on
a
the
figurehead.
bow.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, because obviously boats used to have like ornate figureheads, and which also helped with ramming other ships in times of war. There we go, probably. So anyway, this lady called Eleanor Velasco Thornton, she was kind of kept secret because she was from a poor family and it could never be made public, obviously, because Baron What's-His Chops was married. And anyway, she died in 1915 when she was sailing to Crete with Lord Montagu, and their ship got torpedoed by a German U-boat.
Oh,
so that
that's
makes
not the way I saw that story going.
no, and he survived it. She didn't. Which means I've now successfully got World War II into every single DriveTribe podcast. That's World War One, a world war into every single DriveTribe podcast. I'm quite proud of that.
Do you
But
think
anyway.
there's a secret plot here? Do you think Montague found out, like, was worried his wife would find out about the affair, so he called up his mates and
In the
got them
German
to-
Admiralty.
Yeah, you never know, posh people.
Well, yeah, most posh people in England probably were half German at that point in time, and kind of still are, aren't they? So that's it's a good one. Lucy, you should write a book about this and start conspiracy theory that
Yeah, forget Diana.
we haven't mentioned that lady since the
In a
first
long
series of
time.
the every episode of the first season of DriveTribe podcast, we got on to Princess Diana, and we had to edit it out every single episode. So thanks for reminding me, Lucy. I'm not going to go down that particular tunnel. Right. Anyway, so sorry, dear listeners, we're falling apart here. It's Friday afternoon. We should really be drinking. The Spirit of Ecstasy, it's worth noting that they did a kneeling version, so it did change throughout history. For when they started doing lower saloon cars to give the driver a better view of the road ahead, they had to make the Spirit of Ecstasy smaller, so they made her kneel down.
Can we see a little impression of that as well, please, Tim? For those of you watching on the video. Okay, perfect. Thank
Was
you.
that good?
Yeah.
And if you want, obviously you get the standard on all modern Rolls-Royces, and if you've ever tried to touch it or knock it, it immediately retracts. It's on a spring, so you can't knock it off or steal it. And modern ones are made out of polished stainless steel, or you can have I think it's a 24 karat gold coating as an option, or you can have them out of crystal. And I'm
Can't
sure
you get a light up one now?
yes, I think the crystal ones might be light up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I
Sounds
don't.
so awful. Like you
Did
got
you-
really
Invented
nice
without
ones.
comment.
Well, did you see Justin Bieber's Rolls-Royce? It was in the news
Oh,
this
it's
week.
Yes.
horrible.
What was that?
So, dear listeners, this is it wasn't done by Rolls-Royce because they wouldn't do anything that gash. But go and check it out. It's basically the wheels are all fared in, and it does look like a Rolls-Royce concept car that they've done. To be fair, but who's it done by? Like West Coast Customs or something like that, I think. It's not to my taste. Put it that way. It's a bit leery. So there we go. That is the story of the Spirit of Ecstasy, which brings us neatly on to the last news story of the week, which is about corporate manslaughter.
Finally, I've been waiting for this for weeks.
So I've only just oh dear.
I'm gone. Okay.
So this week, the news this is a very serious story. I'm just going to laugh through. Highways England, who run the motorways in England, could face a charge of corporate manslaughter. I've just seen a report on Autocar. So in England, UK, I think it might just be England, we've got these things called smart motorways, which, as you might have guessed, that's the official name. They're actually dumb as you like. Basically, you have 4 lanes or 3 lanes. No, it'd be 4 lanes on a motorway. And one of them is usually the emergency hard shoulder, we call it here. So the refuge lane. If you break down, that lane is always empty, and it's you only go in it if you break down. They decided years ago that we will open that lane to all traffic, and if needed, we can shut it using signs, lit up signs that say, "Don't go. This is now a hard shoulder." Obviously, this relies on people's common sense, observation, and driving skills, which means it's just not going to work. So In the past 5 years since these have been live, 38 people sadly have died in the UK as on the hard shoulders of smart motorways. And from personal perspective, I think they're a terrible idea because it takes a long time for you to break down on the hard shoulder, or it's what is a live lane of the motorway at that point on the far left, before the lights are switched on to close it. And a lady was sadly killed, I think it's in 2018. She broke down and went onto the left lane, and it took 6 minutes for camera operators or whoever it is to realize this and to shut that lane by putting a big red cross on the gantry over it. And 16 minutes after she was there, she was out of her car got hit by another car, pushed her car into her, and she sadly died. So the Crown Prosecution Service, who is in charge of criminal cases in the UK, has had, Highways England have been referred to them, and they think there's evidence that this could be corporate manslaughter by Highways England for these deaths on smart motorways. So for balance, there's a lawyer called Nicholas Chapman, who's the lawyer for Highways England, said the fact that Highways England once placed a hard shoulder on the road does not mean they are under a general common law duty to do so. There can be no assumption that Highways England irrevocably assumes responsibility to provide hard shoulders on all motorways for all time. There is no duty of care, so the case for corporate manslaughter falls at the first hurdle. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but there's no duty of care. I mean, you run the motorways and you've changed them so there's nowhere to go if your car breaks down, ergo you're going to die. Yeah, that's nonsense, isn't it? So it'd be interesting to see how this case proceeds. It'd be worth keeping an eye on it. All I would say is I had to do a speed awareness course in 2012. I got caught speeding and I was on the way to my father's second wedding.
And nice bit of detail.
Thanks. Well, I wasn't alive for the first one, so I had to go on a stag do with my dad. You have no idea how weird that is. And
where was it?
It was in a village that he lives in Norfolk called Swaffham.
I was waiting for Amsterdam,
Bratislava, or somewhere.
Well, we went to his local Russian restaurant, so it was great. Yeah, it was a bit weird, kind of sleeping on sofas at my dad's house, surrounded by 50-year-old men who are his schoolmates. But anyway, I digress. Speed awareness course. I learned that if you pull over on a hard shoulder, basically, if you get out of your car and don't go behind the barriers, you basically have a life expectancy of something like 20 minutes. Basically, if you park on a hard shoulder, there's a really, really high chance of your car getting smashed into, because lorry drivers in lane 1, they just get target fixation and they'll look at you and slowly drift and then smash into your car. So get out of your car and then cross the barrier and go behind your car, not in front of it. I see so many people get out of their car and then go in front of the car. So if their car got hit, it would fly into them. So anyway, there we go. And on that light piece of news is the end of the news. Does anybody else feel emotionally drained after that?
I mean, you were just offering people life-saving tips, I guess.
Yeah. And you wonder why I don't use motorways.
Just don't break down on them. It's fine.
That is a fun fact about Lucy Brown, by the way, everyone. I don't know if you just missed that little nugget.
Yes, I do not use motorways. But you say don't break down. Yes, I think everyone schedules their breakdowns, don't they? Especially on motorways.
I was joking. But yeah, I mean, you should always ensure your car is in a fit condition to proceed. But, did you know it's illegal to run out of fuel on a motorway in Germany? I think it's probably the same over here as well. Fun fact.
All the facts today.
What is a more fun fact is Lucy Brown is going to talk to us for a little bit about James May and the moon.
Oh, didn't realize we were going to chat about that. Yes, James May technically is going to the moon. I say technically because
I love this story so much.
Basically, a few weeks ago, as I have very little of a social life, I was watching YouTube and I stumbled across a Mr. Beast live stream. If you don't know who that is, he's quite a big American YouTuber who's grown so quickly and by so much over the last few years. He's got about 52 million subscribers now on his main channel. He's got loads of other small channels. I say small, they're about 7 million strong. He has bought some space in a NASA lander that's being sent to the moon, and he's offering anyone the chance to put a piece of video content that's a 1 second long or an image. So you just need to pay $10, send it in. He must be making a fortune, and whatever you want goes on the moon. And as I was watching this live stream, I noticed a clip from a Food Tribe video, the James Made Cheese meme. So I rang James up and told him to film himself, and I told him the news, and he was really, really happy, but also very depressed that out of all of the amazing content he's done over the last 20 years, a cheese meme is what's making it to the moon.
Oh, I think that's quite a nice story, though. The whole James Made Cheese thing, if you've not seen it, it came from a Food Tribe video. It was the first sandwich.
One of the first ones, yeah.
It was cheese sandwiches several ways or something like that. So someone on Instagram basically just posts it every day. I think there's an account that does that, and it's so weird. It's just him putting a block of cheese down and saying cheese.
It's huge. We're working on a video exclusive for Food Tribe, which is a compilation of all of the different ones we found. And we found about 200 different things people had done with this meme, and we had to cut it down to 30, otherwise it would have been 3 hours long. But it's exploded, and it's not just in the UK, it seems to be quite big in America as well. So people who don't even know who James May is know James May cheese meme.
That is such, I kind of get why he's depressed, that's the thing he's going to be remembered for. But yeah, we'll come back to talk about Food Tribe and food later on. First, we should probably rattle through what we've been driving, what we've driven, and what we will drove. Rachael Hogg, you've been... First of all, have you driven your Suzuki bloody Swift yet?
Yes.
Ah.
I have.
Is it any good?
Short journeys. I really like it. So my other half, who is also insured on it, had done a couple of long journeys in it and had been moaning about it not being very comfortable. And so I was kind of feeling a bit like, oh, am I going to like it? I've only done relatively short journeys in it so far, but it's really fun, and I feel like it suits me as a car, if that makes any sense. I feel very at home in it. It looks great. The interior is a bit plasticky, Suzuki. I'm really, especially with the weather at the moment, I'm really missing having heated seats and heated steering wheel. I'm sorry to say it. But the car it's really fun. It spins up very easily though.
Yeah, is that because the hybridness, or is that just the fearsome torque from the
fearsome torque?
Was it a 1.3? I can't remember the turbo.
1.4
turbocharged engine. How many horsepower has it got?
I should really know this. You've done this to me again. I forget numbers. I'm so bad with numbers.
I thought I was hosting a podcast with a car journalist. It's okay.
Yes, I know.
Lucy Brown, how much horsepower does the Suzuki Swift Sport hybrid have?
Can we like fill it in at some point?
Fair amount.
Oh, a useful amount. I can't believe it's taken you this long to Google it as well. This is amazing.
95?
That's not right.
Surely not.
It's more than 150.
I don't know, you know.
Right.
I mean, anyway. I don't know.
Dear listeners, we are ever professional. This is what happens when you just throw things at people. I'm going to talk briefly about the Porsche Taycan. I'll just get back onto that. I drove the rear-wheel drive one yesterday. It's beige. It was a German car sent over for UK journalists to drive. They got a pink one and a beige one. The pink looks amazing. The beige one looks like a prosthetic leg in the nicest possible way. And it's meant to be a cheap one at £75,000, but the Germans put loads of options on it and made it 115,000 euros, something like that. And it's still great. Don't think because it's rear-wheel drive it will do skids, because it doesn't really, unless you're in a car park with everything switched off. And it's just, the steering's a bit more delicate than the four-wheel drive ones, and it's just not especially quick. It's like RS3 fast once you're moving, but slower off the line than something like an RS3. So yeah, it's like a hot hatch almost in terms of speed, because it's 2.2 tons, 380-ish horsepower. It's okay, but I think the best thing about the Taycan is the way that the four-wheel drive works and the torque vectoring and that stuff. So get the 4S, or if you really fancy, get the Turbo or Turbo S, because it is bloody brilliant. Porsche going to bring out an estate version soon called the Cross Turismo and the Sport Turismo. So the Cross Turismo is going to be like slightly jacked up, and then there's going to be the Sport Turismo, which is like an estate, but a bit lower. That's enough Porsche Taycan chat for the next year. All I can hear is Rachael Hogg furiously Googling stuff with her mouse.
What?
What?
You can't. And he's 129 horsepower, by the way.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Okay. Interesting. Great car, though. I've also been driving the BMW M440i. So this is the new Argo 4 Series. I actually quite like the way it looks. With straight six, 3-cylinder with 380-ish horsepower, four-wheel drive. And it's flipping great. It handles really nicely. It just feels at home in its skin. It's a bit sporty, very comfortable. And I was driving around in the snow. Four-wheel drive was very useful. Did some skids in the car park. It was pretty good. But putting a child seat in the back of it was doable. But I got snow in my bum crack because you have to bend over a lot. And it was in a blizzard, and I've never had snow in my bum crack. And I don't mean to lower the tone of the podcast, but it wasn't that nice. So there,
Nice.
There we go. My video is going to be so grainy because the sun has dropped from the sky because we're so late doing this. And the last thing I'm going to talk about briefly, actually no, I'll do that next week as a teaser. The Ducati Multistrada V4 is a motorbike. It's outside my house. It's very good. Next week, I will be driving the Ford Puma ST and the Audi E-Tron, because somehow I've never driven an Audi E-Tron. I must be the last person in the world. Just a regular common or garden Audi E-Tron SUV. I'll see what it's like. And Rachael Hogg, you've been in a Polestar 1 this week as a passenger, haven't you?
I have. I've had an interesting couple of journeys in a Polestar 1, which, for those who don't know, is a very rare beast that you'll probably not see yourself anywhere. There's only 1,500 of them in the world. It's a hybrid. It's from, obviously, well, I assume most people know Polestar. It's not a Volvo, but it's their performance-y electric arm. And yeah, the Polestar 1 was their first one that they brought out to kind of demonstrate some of the technology. So it's a hybrid. It's got a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged and supercharged engine, and then two electric motors driving the rear wheels. That one, I can tell you the amount of horsepower it's got. It's got 609 horsepower total.
And does it feel like a 609 horsepower car?
No, it didn't. It was fast, but it wasn't mind-bogglingly fast. It's beautiful. I would say it's one of the best looking cars out there at the moment. It's an absolute stunning thing, and it's got quite an impressive electric only range of nearly 80 miles, which is quite impressive for a hybrid. But the big sticking points are it's left-hand drive only, and it's £140,000.
Yeah, I mean, architects are going to buy that. I can just imagine.
Yes, we were trying to work out who would buy one. Architects is a great shout.
Yeah, someone who's only got Vitra Eames chairs in their dining room and like some fancy.
And one of those juicers, the really fancy ones.
Yes, and probably a Billingham camera bag. Hashtag gifted. And I like it. I love the way it looks. I should get one in because
you should.
It's been around for a few years, hasn't it? But they've obviously they've got one or two on fleet. Actually, the guy that runs Polestar Press in the UK, I know reasonably well, and I don't think they've got an office over here at the moment. And he just changes the brake discs and pads himself on his driveway. It's really good.
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, he certainly changed wheels over on his driveway and put one on his Instagram. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that. It's very pretty. It's just a bit. It's kind of like It's like their prototype almost, isn't it? Except they put it on sale.
It's very interesting, and I'm got the Polestar 2 is coming up this week as well.
Yes.
But there are, going back to the conversation earlier about charge points, where I am currently, I don't really want to say where that is, to be honest. There are no charge points in the whole town. The closest one is a 20-minute drive away.
What, in Barbados?
In a Waitrose.
In Barbados, there are no.
Not even a Waitrose.
No.
Yeah, it's terrible. You should get one installed at your new castle that you're building at the moment.
In Barbados.
In Barbados. Maybe Lucy Brown in Antigua can help you out. She knows a guy. Imagine if we all lived on desert islands. It'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? No?
I feel Lucy Brown would be in Dubai with her influencer status.
Oh, I've never been to Dubai, and I have no interest of going to Dubai.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm with you on that. Also, my perfect temperature is about 16 degrees with a light mist of rain.
33 degrees. Lovely.
33 degrees if I can be in a swimming pool in swimming shorts with a cocktail, like the pinkest, bluest cocktail I could find.
The perfect temperature ever is about 27 degrees at night with a strong, warm breeze near the sea. That's the perfect environment.
For you.
The Taycan battery would not agree with you, Lucy.
Yes. Can we just turn the sun up 1 degree? Right. That's it for the car stuff. I just want to quickly ask Rachael a few things about Food Tribe, sister site of DriveTribe. It's got some really cool stuff going on at the moment. First of which, we're running a competition to win a really fancy coffee machine. So if you live in the UK and you like fancy coffee at home, you can buy some tickets to win. What is it? It's a fancy
a DeLonghi coffee machine, which is worth like £1,200 plus.
It's the Prima Donna Elite.
Oh yeah.
So this the Rachael Hogg special edition.
Exactly.
So head over to foodtribe.com, probably /competitions or something like that, and you'll be able to find it. Is that a shake of the head? I get that wrong, Lucy? Or was that right?
I think it's something a bit more complex than that.
Fine.
But
let's go to Food Tribe. It'll be there somewhere. And
I'm sure Tim will also put a link in the description of this video.
Yeah, I'll definitely not remember. And Rachael, you filmed the relaunch of the Food Tribe podcast with some old bloke.
I did obviously briefly mention this on the DriveTribe podcast last week, but yes, first interview in the bag with Mr. James May. So we chatted for nearly an hour. I had a glass of wine to hand. He did not, even though I was told that he would probably have one, so that was a little bit awkward. But he didn't seem to mind too much. And we chatted about all sorts. I'm afraid no cars though. Car chat was banned from both of us, but there is loads of really interesting stuff on there, and I hope everyone listening wants to tune into that because it was a really good chat, and that will be going live in the next few days.
Cool. So go and check that out. That'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places the DriveTribe podcast appears. That will be. And you filmed it as well, didn't you? Or did you not?
We did indeed. So that will be going on my YouTube channel. There's finally a video that will be going on my YouTube channel, which is Rachael Hogg Food Tribe.
And
like,
lastly,
subscribe.
Just before I forget, why is Rosé Prosecco so important?
Oh, God. I mean, it's important to me. I don't know if it's important to anyone listening to the DriveTribe podcast.
No, but I just read about it. And so Rosé Prosecco was basically not a thing, but the Italians made it legal last year, or the DOP.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's one of those things that you would think had existed forever because everyone loves Prosecco, everyone loves pink fizz, but there are a lot of rules governing what you can grow and make in Italy in all the different regions, and so the conversation started in 2018, but it took until last year to get the go-ahead for Rosé Prosecco. So now they're allowed to grow a little bit of Pinot Noir only in the Prosecco region and add between 10 and 15% to each bottle. So Rosé Prosecco now exists.
Wow. So there is officially a Type of Prosecco that's more up to date than the Fiat Panda. So that is good.
There we go. Nice car link. Thank you. I'm glad you brought that back to
Thank you.
cars to the end.
That was great. Well,
Sorry, DriveTribe listeners.
we should probably call it a day there because I forgot to turn my lights on and it's getting very dark in my room.
Yeah, it does look like you're in, I don't know, like Blair Witch Project or something.
Yeah, but in a toddler's room, which is just even creepier. So, yeah, thank you for listening. I've been Tim.
I've been Rachel.
And I've been Lucy.
And here's some horrible music.
One day, Lucy will dance. Will you not even dance in your Star Trek jumper?
It's not a Star Trek jumper. Tim has started a whole thing with that.
Are you really into Star Trek then?
I've also been getting comments that I'm more enthusiastic, no, less enthusiastic than Data from Star Trek.
Oh dear. YouTube comments are the worst.
I quite enjoy them.
Yeah, Rachel Hogg doesn't read YouTube comments. I have to find the nice ones and copy and paste them to her.
And you always send me the bad ones.
Yeah. Let's go and have a drink. Goodbye.